Hello students, this is problem 38 from chapter 5 of the book Pathfinder, and a very special question, very unique question based on the concept of impulse and momentum. In this question we have two identical disks A and B having same mass and the same radius, and both the disks are on a frictionless horizontal surface, and according as you can see in the figure, one of the disk, which is A, is moving with a linear velocity u, and the second disk B is rotating about the central axis. That is, object A has no angular velocity, whereas object B has no linear velocity. And they undergo head-on inelastic collision. Both the disks go under head-on inelastic collision on a frictionless horizontal surface, right? And we have to tell the velocities after the collision. Okay. First of all, keep in mind that this figure is on the horizontal surface. So there is no role of gravity in this question, right? So this figure is on a frictionless horizontal surface. That is the key point. And it has nothing to do with rolling of objects, right? No. First of all, we will do some analysis, a reasoning part for this question. We'll try to understand the logic behind this question, and then we will go to the mathematical part of question. We are not, we will not directly go to the mathematical section. First, we will discuss this problem. We will try to learn the concepts which are used in this question, and then we will move to the mathematical segment. So number one is we need to analyze the forces which disk A and disk B will exert on each other at the time of collision. Right? When the disk A and disk B they collide, what are the forces which they are going to exert on each other? Remember, this collision will be for a very small time interval, and during that small time of interval, the forces which A and B will apply on each other, they are impulsive forces. They will have huge impact on the velocities of the object. So here we analyze the impulsive forces like this. Number one impulsive force will be the normal reaction force, right? When the two disks will collide, as you can see, they will exert a normal force on each other at this point of contact. At this point of contact, the two disks will exert a normal reaction force passing through the geometrical centers of disk A and disk B, right? So these two normal forces will be applied by A and B. Moreover, since if you look at the figure, disk A is in the translatory motion and disk B is in the rotational motion. So a point on the surface of disk, if I consider a point on this disk, if I consider a point 1 on this disk, that point 1 is moving to the right side with u speed. And if I consider a point 2 present on the disk B, then this point has a tangential velocity of r omega. Okay. So in this figure, you can see that point number 1 and the point number 2, they are moving in different directions. And when point 1 and point 2 will collide, the moment point 1 and point 2 comes in contact with each other, point 1 will come in contact with the point 2, and the point 2 is having instantaneous velocity along the tangent. And since the surfaces are rough, the surfaces of the disks are rough, so to oppose the tangential velocity of point 2, to oppose this tangential velocity of point 2, which is r omega, a friction force will appear on the point 2. A friction force will appear at point 2 in the downward direction. So that is the friction force which is by A on B, and as per the Newton third law, if a friction force act at point 2 against the tangential velocity of r omega, then equal and opposite friction force will also act on the point number 1, which is the point of disk A. So there will be a frictional force acting between the disk A and disk B at the time of collision, and this friction will also be an impulsive force in this situation. So overall, object number A receives two impulse. It receives impulse by the normal reaction force. It also receives impulse by the frictional force, and same with the object number B. So each object receive impulse in two mutually perpendicular directions, one in the direction of normal reaction force and the other in the direction of friction force. Now we will analyze the impact caused by these impulses. We will learn how the impulsive normal reaction and how the impulsive friction force will change the velocity of object A and the object B. Okay. In this figure, as you can see, on the left hand side, we have motion of objects which were before collision, object motions before collision, right? And now we will have an analysis of the impulses. So the normal reaction force which is on A, look at this figure. This normal reaction force which is on A to the left side, the normal reaction on A to the left side. Okay. Notice that object number A is moving to the right side with velocity v. Object number A is moving to the right side with velocity v. It receives an impulse in its opposite direction by the normal reaction force, which will slow down the object A, and the velocity will reduce to v1. So the normal reaction force on A will cause the linear velocity v to change to a new value v1. Okay. The normal reaction which acts on B, notice object B has no linear velocity before collision. It is just rotating at its place, but it is not translating. So object B has no linear velocity. The center of mass of object B is not moving, but when it will receive the impulse by normal reaction force, that normal reaction force will give some momentum to the center of mass of object B, and the center of mass of object B will now move with velocity v2. So that's the second impact created by the normal reaction force. Okay. As far as I forget to mention here x-axis and y-axis. So this horizontal line, I guess it is x-axis, and this vertical line, I guess it is y-axis. Okay. Now the frictional forces. The friction which acts on A in the positive y direction, this friction force acting on A, will give a linear velocity to the center of disk A, because the friction is impulsive force in this case. So there will be an impulse by the friction force. That means there will be some change of the momentum created by this friction force in its direction. So the friction which acts tangentially will change the momentum of object A along the tangent. And now the object A will move with some velocity Vy. And the same with object B, as it receives an tangential impulse, it receives a tangential impulse by the friction force. So the friction force acting along the tangent of disk B will give some impulse or will change the momentum of object B in y direction, and let the velocity of object B becomes Vy. Also, the friction forces which are acting along the tangents of the disk A and B, the frictional forces are acting along the tangents of objects A and B. So that friction force which acts along the tangent of A, if you look, this friction force will produce a torque about the center of A. There will be some torque by the friction force. And similarly, the friction force which acts on B will have a torque about center of the disk B. So these frictional forces which are along the tangents they will generate or they will produce a torque about the center of disk A and the center of disk B. And because of these torques, the angular speeds, the angular speed of object A and the angular speed of object B will also change. Object A, which was having zero angular speed before collision, will now acquire some angular velocity due to the torque by the friction force. I supposed it omega 1. And the friction force which produces a torque about the center of disk B will reduce the angular velocity of B from omega to a new value omega 2. So overall, this is the analysis of impulse which is acting on A and acting on B. And because of these impulses, whether it is a linear impulse or angular impulse, the new velocities of the object are represented on the right hand side. Now we have analyzed what will happen with the velocities, how the impulses will change the momentum in each direction, how much linear impulse the object receive, how much angular impulse the object is receiving, what will happen with those impulses. So this analysis is now done. After that, we will move to the making of equations part. Once we have analyzed the forces, their impacts, how they will change the momentums, how they will change the angular momentums. Now it's time to write down the mathematical equations. Moving to the next page now. So now we are going to write equations required for this particular question. Number one is you can follow the conservation of linear momentum, because if you take the entire system, if you take A plus B as the system, these forces will cancel each other. The friction forces on A and B are equal and opposite. The normal reaction forces on A and B are equal and opposite. So if I take A plus B as a system, there is no external force. So considering A plus B as your system, there is no external force. Sigma F external is 0, and therefore the linear momentum of the system is conserved. By conservation of linear momentum, I get an equation mv equal to mv1 plus mv2. Okay, this is the first equation which you can write. Since the masses are equal, mv equals to mv1 plus mv2 by the conservation of linear momentum, and because sigma, the resultant external force on the system is 0. Second point. Again, if I take A plus B as system, then also torque external is 0. There is no external torque, which gives me permission to follow conservation of angular momentum. I can use the conservation of angular momentum of the system. That means angular momentum of A plus B as a system will be conserved as a constant value, right? But the angular momentum is always calculated about some reference point. Angular momentum is always calculated about a point of reference, and that we need to choose about which point we will follow the conservation of angular momentum. Okay. So I will prefer a point P which is between the disks A and B, but that point P should be on the floor. I prefer a point P which is on the floor and between the two disks A and B. Taking point P on the floor makes it inertial point, right? And we can follow the conservation of angular momentum relative to the point P. But remember, when you write angular momentum of any body, any rigid body relative to some point P is always written as moment of inertia about the center of mass axis times omega and plus position of center of mass relative to point P cross mass of object and then velocity of center of mass relative to point P. So that's the general equation for writing the angular momentum of rigid bodies. So now angular momentum of object A relative to point P before the collision. Okay. So before collision, object A has no angular speed. Therefore, the first term, which is I COM into omega, this first term will be 0. What about the second term? We are writing the angular momentum of object A with respect to P, and relative to the point P, the position of center of mass of A, the position of center of mass of A is to the left side, and R and V are parallel vectors. So when R and V, this R and V are parallel vector, their cross product will be 0. Okay. Now, angular momentum of object B relative to the point P before collision will be the first term, which is the moment of inertia about the center of mass axis. Since they are uniform disk, the moment of inertia about the center of mass axis will be written as mr square by 2. Then it is omega plus the second term, which requires velocity of center of mass. But the center of mass of disk is at rest. Center of mass of disk B was at rest before the collision. So no second term will appear in this question. And therefore, the total angular momentum of A plus B, total angular momentum of the system of A plus B is mr square by 2 times omega. Okay. It is into the plane cross. Now the angular momentum of system A plus B after collision. If I write the angular momentum of A plus B after collision, then it will be, first I will write angular momentum of object A relative to this point P. So be careful now. The first term should be I about center of mass into omega, and that is mr square by 2 times of omega 1. Okay. But this direction of omega 1, this omega 1, if I check the direction of omega 1, it is outward, out of the plane. So if I prefer into the plane direction as a positive direction, then out of the plane direction, which is represented by dot, I can consider it a negative direction. Omega 1 has a direction which is out of the page, so I will write it a negative value minus omega 1. This is the first term, which is I center of mass omega, plus the second term, which is R center of mass cross M into V center of mass. Now the center of mass of object A has a velocity v1 towards point P, and it has also a velocity vy in this direction. Relative to the point P, the position of center of mass is to the left side, that is r vector. So r cross v1 will be 0. R cross v1 is going to be 0, but there will be angular momentum because of the velocity component vy. So that will be written as, if you check the direction of cross product, and this will be m. Since r and v are perpendicular vectors, notice the position vector r is to the left side and the velocity vy is to the y direction, is along the y direction. So this r vector and v vectors, they are perpendicular to each other. So you can take the cross product as a normal product. For two perpendicular vector, the cross product is a simple product between their magnitudes. So I can write the angular momentum as m, r, and the y component of the velocity vy. This is for object A. Similarly, if you write the angular momentum for object B about this point P, so the first term by this formula is again I center of mass omega, which is mr square by 2 into omega 2. Okay, plus, and the omega 2 being clockwise, its direction will be into the plane. Omega 2 is into the plane, omega 1 is out of the plane, which was a negative direction, plus the second factor, which is r cross mv. So center of mass of the B has a velocity component of v2 and vy. And if I check the position vector, of center of mass from point P, then relative to point P, the position vector of center of mass of B, the position vector of center of mass of P is to the right side. And that r vector cross v2 being in parallel direction, R cross V2 will be 0. So the cross product will appear by R and Vy, and this value will also be Mr Vy. Now you will write conservation of angular momentum, which means this angular momentum which was before collision and the angular momentum which you write after collision. The angular momentum which you write after collision, and the angular momentum which we wrote before collision, these two has to be equal. These two has to be equal. So now you can write down an equation that mr square by 2 times of omega, which is the angular momentum before collision, is equals to minus mr square by 2 times of omega 1 plus mr square omega 2 by 2 and plus 2 times mr vy. That is my second equation from conservation of angular momentum about a point P taken between the disk but on the floor. Okay, so these two equations we have obtained. More equations are required to solve the unknowns. Now, third equation. Third equation, okay. If you look at the figure, then if you look at the figure of impulse, then the impulse which is given by the frictional force, this frictional force acting on A will give a torque about the center of disk A, and because of that torque, the angular momentum of disk A about center will change. So disk A omega was 0 before collision. Then this disk A receives an torque. It receives torque about center by the frictional force. And after that torque, the same disk A is now rotating with angular velocity omega 1. This friction was along the tangent at a distance of small r from the center. So the torque by the friction force can be written as friction into the distance small r and time delta t. Remember, frictional force into distance, it gives you torque. This factor is the torque. And when you multiply torque with the time of collision, I can take it average torque and then time of collision is multiplied. It gives you change in the angular momentum. This change in angular momentum should be about the center of mass. And the angular momentum about center of mass is always moment of inertia about center of mass into omega. So this Fr delta t, which is about the center of mass of the disk A, should be I about the center of mass is mr square by 2, and then its final angular velocity omega 1 minus the initial angular velocity is 0. For the disk B, which was already moving with some angular velocity omega before collision, that disk B receives torque by the friction force. It receives a torque by the friction force, and that torque is again that friction force into the radius of object. And after that torque, this object B is rotating with new angular velocity omega 2. So the torque by the friction force F into R into the time of operation delta T is change in the angular momentum relative to the center of mass, which is mr square by 2 into final angular speed minus initial. But here we have to be careful about the sign convention, because this torque, the torque on B is opposite to the angular velocity. It is opposite to omega. Since it is opposite to omega, I will put a negative sign here. And now if I take these two equations, if I add these two equations, if you add these two equations, you will get an equation omega 1 plus omega 2 equals to omega as your third equation. So this is your third equation. Then we have fourth equation. Okay, what is the fourth equation now? What is the fourth equation? Look, after collision, this point 1 here, the point number 1, the velocity of this point 1, which is on the circumference of object A, this point 1 will have a velocity v1 in this direction, then vy in the y direction, and one more velocity will be because of this angular motion, rotational motion omega 1. So point 1 will have one more velocity due to the angular speed omega 1, which is added with vy and written as r omega. Notice point 1 will have a velocity because of the three reasons. One, the translatory motion of center of mass in the x direction. Second, the translatory motion of center of mass in the y direction. And third, the rotational motion about center of mass. Now, the point 2, which is on the circumference of disk B. The point 2, which is on the circumference of disk B. What about this point now? So this point will have a velocity Vy in the downward direction, and then another velocity because of the rotational motion omega 2. Okay, because of the rotational motion omega 2, that tangential velocity will be in the upward direction, r omega 2, and one more velocity v2 on this side. So I will draw this picture again, that point number 1 and point number 2, they are having velocities. Point 1 is having a velocity along the tangent, which is vy plus r omega. Point 2 is having a velocity along tangent, which is r omega 2 minus vy. Along with these velocities, they are having another velocities in these directions, which are v1 and v2. Now, two things were given in this question. They were, the collision was perfectly inelastic. The collision was perfectly inelastic, which means the velocity of separation has to be 0, as it is inelastic collision. And the second point, the slipping stops in the end of collision. The slipping stops in the end of collision, which means the colliding points 1 and 2, their relative velocity along the tangent has to be 0. The relative velocity of point 1 and 2 along tangent must be 0. So I will use these two facts for the equations. Which is the velocity of separation is 0, which means v1 and v2 are equal. That is my fourth equation. This is from the velocity of separation equal to 0. And the tangential velocity, point 1, and this is point 2. The velocity which is along tangent is actually vy plus r omega 1 and r omega 2 minus vy. These two velocities has to be equal as given in this question. So therefore, vy plus r omega 1 should be r omega 2 minus vy. That is my fifth equation. Notice we have total 5 unknowns: omega 1, omega 2, v1, v2, and this vy. One more thing, I took vy as a common variable for both, and the reason is there is no linear momentum in the y direction before collision. There is no linear momentum in the y direction before collision, and by conservation of linear momentum, the final or after collision, the linear momentum carried by object A in the y direction must be equal and opposite to the linear momentum carried by object B in the y direction. So along y axis, both the disks, they must have same speed and opposite direction, else a non-zero linear momentum will appear in a y direction, which is a violation of conservation of linear momentum. So now we have obtained 5 equations. These two, one from the perfectly inelastic collision, second the relative motion ceases. Other equations are conservation of linear momentum, conservation of angular momentum. This is the second equation, which is from the conservation of angular momentum. And then applying impulse momentum theorem about the center of mass of disk A and the center of mass of disk B, which give you this fifth equation. Now you have to solve all these 5 equations. Okay. And after solving all these 5 equations, if I solve all 5 equations, and then you will get results like omega 1 equals to omega by 3, and then omega 2 equals to 2 omega by 3. These are the angular velocities. Okay. So this was the question number 38 from the book Pathfinder. Obviously, it was a very lengthy question, but yes, a lot of analysis was required in this question. Impulse momentum theorem, conservation of angular momentum, conservation of linear momentum, and then the property of perfectly inelastic collision, and the relative motion stops during the collision as given in this question. Okay. Take care. Bye bye.